pathway to fascism. That's a bit hyperbole, don't you think? I'm just waiting for the part.
I don't know these milieux at all. I'm being honest with you. There's such a huge age gap, generation gap, and it's very, very alien and frankly disorienting to me. This past weekend, I was asked to do a book reading at this magazine called Mars Review. Are you
Hmm.
familiar with it? Uh,
I don't know, Pascal. Do you know Mars Review?
Not familiar at all.
okay. One of the interesting things, I don't want to get lost in tangents, which I have a tendency to, but in the terms of culture right now, we're in a model of what you might call competitive capitalism, where you have just these tiny units, a Mars Review here, a compact magazine here, the Drift there. There are 10,000 little units out there. It's like the era of competitive capitalism. And oddly enough, in my era, it was the era of monopoly capitalism, which is to say, in cultural affairs, you had very defined precincts. You had the so-called left, Dissent magazine, the Nation magazine. You had the center liberals like New Republic and New York Review of Books, and then you had the right-wing Commentary magazine. But it was like just like monopoly capitalism. There are five, six, or seven units, very defined, and everybody was in one stream or the other. Now nobody even knows each other. Like you don't know Mars Review. Mars Review doesn't know this and that and the other. It's a very, for me, it's a very unusual cultural scene right now because there's no dominant force. There's no, as it were, hegemonic cultural forces
Do
uh,
you,
in your
I agree with that.
generation.
Do you think
Uh,
that's because of the internet?
I think it's two things. One is the internet, and the other thing is uh, once when Trump was elected, Nancy Pelosi made the fateful decision to join the resistance. The
And well, the internet is a very scary thing. That is correct.
the center disappeared. The Times is now just a tabloid. It's a woke tabloid. It wasn't that in my day. Now, I'm not saying the Times didn't have its agenda, but there was a pretense. The Times in my day was called the newspaper of record. And part of it being the newspaper of record was you had to have preserve a certain kind of dignity. And right now, the Times has completely jettisoned any pretense of being a newspaper of record. It's now the organ of the woke wing of the Democratic Party, or really of the whole Democratic Party. So, with the collapsing of that broad defined center, there's now been a lot of room opened up for all sorts of magazines and journals, uh, and obviously web-based journalism to command an audience. But I was just I mentioned
And again, like when I keep saying this, like while I was watching the Adam Freeland X the Destiny conversation, was like, can you imagine having Norm Finkelstein as your college professor? I mean, would be pretty cool for me. I wouldn't mind, sitting down on the desk podium, listening to the lectures. It would be amusing and, well, not really amusing, but it'll be intriguing. That's all I'm gonna say.
as a backdrop. So I was invited to speak at the Mars Review. They were having an event around Washington Square in Manhattan near NYU. And I have to say, and I don't want this to sound wrong, but I was really, I felt very ill at ease. First of all, it was solidly white. When I say
Hmm.
solidly white, I mean there were only two non white people in a room of about 100.
Yeah, exactly. He is a national treasure. That's why I was saying, like, can you imagine having him as like a, well, I say professor as in like, a teacher term, like if you're at like a college, right? Or a university. So I was like, what if he was hypothetically, like it would be pretty cool, you know?
Mhm.
Secondly, even though they dressed, so to speak, shabbily, you had a feeling of wealth there. These people uh, were graduates of the Ivy League or roughly in that tier. And thirdly, and I know this is going to sound very harsh, there was
Oh, here we go. What what's the harsh truth? Tell me. What's the harsh statement or opinion?
a lot of a lot.
Not really the truth, but what's the opinion that we gotta hear?
There was readings from the current issue, and I'm in the current issue of the Mars Review. It was so saturated with sex, kinky sex, wild sex. There's an expression, I don't know if they coined it or whether it's a commonplace in your generation. The expression is gooning, Gooning,
Grooming or gooning?
gooning, Gooning. It means basically uh, being transfixed with porn, video porn for like 24, 48 hours straight. Straight.
I think that's pretty hyperbole though, but I don't know, man. Like, how do you even how do you do it for 24 hours? Like, you have to be a neat in order to do so. Like, and a neat as in like not employed, educated, or in training, right? You just sit at your home all day, right? So it's like, I don't.
It's the right word there. And 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 it struck me. Now I know this is going to sound harsh, but it struck me that even though this crowd considered itself bohemian, and even though this crowd considered itself um, uh,
I did look up the definition of bohemian and is a, well, I can say that term is correct on that one.
what would you say, uh, uh, anti-establishment, it struck me this was exactly the crowd that would go over to fascism. It had that feel of not, even though they consider themselves anti-establishment, it had that kind of uncomfortable feeling of these folks. If the moment of truth arises or arrives, they're going to
Oh, dude, that was great. Shit. I don't know, man. I guess he got me good on that one. Oh man, that was good.
go over to the fascist side. And
Is this the Mars review of books? Is that what you're talking
yes,
about?
yes, the Mars Review of Books.
Yeah, I just looked them up, and they said
Like, wasn't there like a old school definition of the term gooning? Because I know what the current definition is. So I was like, uh,
the Mars Review of Books is a magazine in print and on Urbit, which combines ruthlessly intelligent and fearless sense making on subjects of global importance with today's most stylish, belletristic writing on contemporary arts and culture. And I'll be very intellectually honest, I had to look up the word belletristic because I had no
It sounds like a goon to me, man. It sounds like goons to me.
I felt very uncomfortable, and it told me two things. It told me, number one, things are very much in flux, but told me, secondly, the left has to get its act together. We're headed.
I don't know, man. Like, he is right on the part where, like, the left has to, get their act together, but a lot of the times, like, you also see people like that will just label themselves as that, but basically exclude other things, I don't know, man. But yeah, no, that segment was actually pretty something else.